Good morning, everyone. We'd like to get started today and call to order. As far as introductions go, Rachel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rachel Hagenbaugh, and I am an alternate for Newport Richey.
All right, thank you. Is there any, you're going to have to help me through this a little bit, Tania. Nobody else that I need to announce, right?
We just go through and we all introduce ourselves and we ask if there's anybody online.
Thank you. For the record. There you go.
So then, Marilyn Deschamps from the city of Newport Richey. That means that even though we have quite a few representatives throughout Pasco, we're going to have to do our entire agenda by consent or consensus or?
No, we did the TAC yesterday. We all just said aye after we reviewed the item. So that way we could at least take it to the board as a, everyone was in agreement with the item.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Does anybody have the agenda in the?
Yeah, I can.
Pick up a packet.
I'll share, Tom.
Well, I saw what I needed to see.
Put it
so-
3 feet, so it's
No, you're
3
good.
feet and 3 feet.
Don't worry about it.
You just won't be able to read it.
Tom, I'll let you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tom Ryan, Pasco ADC.
And Sandy Graves, at large.
Thank you. And I'm Melanie Monson with Lance Smith.
All right.
Is there anything else I needed to say?
And then Tania Gorman, Pasco MPO.
Okay.
Pasco MPO, active transportation plan.
Thank you. Do we have anyone for public comment today? I don't see anyone in the room. There's no one online. Okay. All right. Approval of the minutes. I'm going to put that out to the board here. I did see a couple of things, and I don't know. I'm not one that likes to overdo, but I just saw a couple of things, Tania, that I didn't know if you wanted to change. My name was spelt wrong on one of them, and then on one of the motions, and I'm sorry, I did this at home and it didn't save. I highlighted it and now it didn't save. Usually you put first and last names, but on one of them you just put first names, and I didn't know if you wanted to change that at all, but that was on number C. And then on H, just a misspelling of my name that I saw. And does anybody have comments on the
Yeah,
minutes?
well, I do have a comment, of course.
No, you're.
First of all, I'm sorry that Christy Zimmer couldn't make it because we were informed last month that she was back on board, but maybe next time. The other thing is that in the minutes, I would think that we would have some language that indicated that there was a vote on the board regarding chair and vice chair, that Melanie was named the new chair and that I'm the vice chair. And I didn't see that in the minutes.
Yeah, it is in number, I saw that.
Okay.
I believe that's in there.
It is. Let's
I think
see.
that's on the.
So that's why I wrote it down. Because,
Okay, yeah.
and I read this.
Several times.
Okay, let's see here. Was it item H? Yeah.
Yes, item H, yeah.
Miss Melanie was nominated for the position of chair. Mr. Chant was nominated for the position of.
Right. I see it now.
It should be vice chair.
Yeah.
It just needs to
Well,
be
thank you. I
vice.
just want to make sure our minutes were
Vice
complete.
chair.
Appreciate it.
Any
Thank
other
you.
comments on the minutes? Changes that you see need to be made? If not, I'll take a consensus. Say,
Well, wait.
oh, wait.
Now that you brought that up.
Okay.
You said a roll call vote was conducted and Miss Graves was elected vice chair, so you need to change that. Because I didn't win.
Oh, yes, it does say that on the, right after Marilyn was nominated vice chair, then it says Miss Sandy Graves was nominated for vice chair. So yeah, you want to take that out.
Wait a minute.
Thank you for
Is this-
saying that.
She was elected vice chair?
No,
It's just
you
a-
were.
Yeah. I
Don't
know.
you recall that glorious day?
The fact that Miss Graves was, yeah. Okay.
Rub it in, rub it in.
Got
Thank
it
you.
straight now, right?
Thanks for catching that, Sandy.
I demand a
didn't
recount
express.
now.
All right, so exception of the minutes, everyone say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Is that how you'd like
Yep,
that to
there you go,
happen?
yep.
Okay.
That works.
Okay, all
Sorry about
right.
that, yeah.
And then, Tania, are you doing the report on the MPO board
Well,
actions?
no, we're just in time for our
Oh,
executive director,
there
Carl
you go,
Kiska,
Carl.
to present the
Where we are now.
MPO report.
Give me a moment. I've still got to get.
That's okay, you
Or
go
we
right
can go-
ahead.
Or we can, here.
We started.
All righty.
I'm old school, as you all know.
Paper versus computer. Here we go, guys.
Yeah, well, gray hair versus.
Well, I got a few. Hold on, I'm getting there now. Go ahead.
So thank you, everyone, and my apologies for coming in late. I was participating in the FHWA review of Florida DOT, providing positive comments to our partners. So really the big thing at the MPO board meeting was a discussion about attendance at the board meeting and how they wanted to proceed going forward. As it turned out, we're going to have the team, staff, which I'm part of, going ahead and tracking attendance and then reporting to the board. There were, of course, the things that you have seen previously, the TIP, the list of project priorities that were approved by the board. Those administrative functions we must take care of. And then we talked briefly about the fact that we will have a census coming up and we will have, or census data will be coming out rather. And that we'll be taking a look at that, of course, to see how we've grown. So in very short summary, that is our MPO board meeting.
All right, thank you. I'm trying to remember how to say your last name.
Carl.
Carl, Mr.
I'm
Carl.
not doing that to you.
No last names. Okay, perfect. Action items, we'll start with Pasco Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Carl Kiska will be presenting as well.
Okay,
So recently, the MPO underwent a audit by the Florida DOT Office of Inspector General. We also underwent an every 4-year review, call it an audit really, by FHWA. Both documents demanded a new interlocal agreement that would then better establish the role of the MPO and our relationship to the county. We're in a bit of we're 1 foot in the county, 1 foot out of the county, if you will. And I like to describe the nature of our relationship as that of, say, the college-age student who lives at home with mom and dad. You know, we're independent and can make decisions, but yet our parents still have responsibility for us because we're in the house. That's the nature of our relationship with the county. We're supposed to be independent, but yet we are under the payroll, the administrative functions of the county. We have a responsibility to behave properly, if you will. We have to outline that kind of nebulous description in a legal document. And that's what we have here is an updated interlocal agreement expressing how we are independent and where we have responsibility to the county. Above all else, I feel an obligation to be a good guest in the house that is Pasco County. They are our friends. They take good care of us. I want to keep them happy because I want them to keep me around rather than kicking me out like that college student who rebels and said, get your own apartment, smarty pants. So we want to stay right here. I have worked with county administration on this agreement. Legal counsel's reviewed it. Everyone is comfortable with it. We're asking that you recommend to the MPO governing board approval of this document, please.
all right, I'll open that up for any
I'd like
discussion.
to ask a question of Carl. That I trust then from your comments that you and Administrator Biles are pretty much on an even keel, administrative wise.
Yes. I mean, I feel that we have a strong relationship, a good partnership. He's responsible for administering a county full of many people.
Right.
I don't want to be the center of his attention. But yeah, I try to interact more directly with Terry Pitos and Sally Sherman, who are a few levels below.
And that department would be,
Oh, Development Services.
okay,
Yeah.
all
And we
right.
actually sit within the folks who work for Development Services because many of their functions align with our functions because they're doing land use planning. Transportation and land use, of course, are tied at the hip. We want to be right next to them and
Right.
continue to partner with them.
Well, thank you for that clarification. That's very helpful. Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
So my only question, and I'm very familiar with your current office environment, you're still in the same office space, right? Okay, you're not changing. Just for the sake of public information, can you, in a short way, just elaborate a little bit about the separation of the MPO from Pasco County? And it's just for the record. I think it's important that everybody understands, and it'll be hopefully in our, at least in our minutes or recordings, that how you're funded and how you differentiate from like county engineering, county road improvements and stuff like that. Because a lot of times that comes up in when I'm dealing with people.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to answer that question. We are independently funded, if you will, by FHWA and FTA, who pass their money to Florida DOT. They are responsible for administering that. So we're entirely federally funded, flowing through the state. And so our finances have to be broken out separately from the county, and that's where the independence comes in. We do use the county accounting system rather than recreating that wheel. We do have, because of the unique nature of our federal grants, we have to have some accounting that's done in addition to the county structure so that we demonstrate that we are using those funds in a legal and proper manner. One of the biggest things I find is that when we ask county staff to do work on behalf of the MPO, they then can bill their time to us. And so we have to document that carefully so we can demonstrate that it was being used in, again, a proper and eligible manner. And that's where I think the differentiation comes in, that we actually have other departments bill us. And then we, invoice me, and then we will pay it. And I sign those invoices. Then they go to Florida DOT for reimbursement. So there's where we're separated. But then where we're not separated is my health insurance is provided through the county, but then, of course, the county bills us or charges us for the time, they're doing our payroll, and then we make sure they are paid for those payroll functions. So my salary plus benefits, which is overhead, is then captured, and the county doesn't incur a cost for that. They pay us up front and they are reimbursed for it. But that's the big difference of how we're independent, but not entirely.
And that's important for a lot of people to know, especially when I'm dealing, so I'm with the Pasco ADC, so I'm more involved with the commercial industrial markets. And they're always asking, who are they supposed to contact at Pasco County? And I'm like, well, if you're on State Road 54, you start with the MPO. If you're on Little Road, you're going to talk with engineering, Margaret Smith maybe. But those differentiations are not known in the public sector. It's because there's always been accommodations made. Your teams have always worked so well together, but there is different funding. So, I mean, there are things you can't do. And I just think that would be good to know, because you're embedded in the county's website, under the MPO section. And I think it does explain how you are separate from the county, and that's, I think, in the summary. But for the public, I do think going forward, because congestion is becoming an issue more than it has been the last 10 years, obviously because of the new construction. But what's different is that everybody that I'm dealing with is not from even Florida. Yes. So they think you're the go-to agency for the county. And I don't think that's always accurate to tell people that. So it might be nice to see some of that clarification maybe on the website, so that when I direct people there, I'm like, know who you're talking to,
Yeah, we can definitely take a look at the website, look at that language, make sure that we're being clear about that. The one thing I do want to do as a matter of just the role of an MPO or any other person who works in government is high levels of customer service. And so to some degree, If you can't distinguish the difference, maybe it means that we are well integrated and partnering strongly, but yet financially we have to keep that level of separation because of the nature of our funds.
Right.
But yeah, I'll take a look at that website. It won't be this week
No,
because I have a PowerPoint
it's just
to put
food for
together.
thought. It's food for thought. It's not anything pending. It's just something that I find myself having to explain more often than I used to. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Carl? This is an action item, so if you can say aye, if you agree with the interlocal agreement.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you. B, TSMNO letter of support. Is that you again or Tania?
I'd be happy to take this,
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
So transportation systems management and operations. This is a way in which we try to squeeze out performance from the transportation system using technology or small additions to the network without expending a great deal of money. It's kind of what I'll call the low-hanging fruit. The Metroplan Orlando, or the MPO for Orlando metropolitan area, has generously offered their staff member, Mr. Eric Hill, to work on strategies that can be implemented across the entire I-4 corridor from Daytona Beach to Tampa Bay, which includes Pasco County as part of the metro region. So in order to establish a somewhat formalized structure, they were asking everyone to do a memorandum of understanding. After talking with legal counsel, they said, really, these MOUs are a bad idea. Let's either do a formal agreement or let's do a letter of support. Well, the other MPOs are doing these memorandum of understandings. So we went ahead and said, okay, we're going to do a letter of support rather than ratchet it up to a formal contract because no money is exchanging hands here.
Okay.
Metroplan Orlando is very generously paying the entire salary of Mr. Eric Hill. And he's a high-level employee over there, so it's not a cheap proposition for them. In our letter, we're expressing that we will support the efforts regionally with our staff time. It's something that benefits us, it benefits the region, and frankly, we should all be working together in a coordinated fashion because your travels don't end at the Pasco County border. You know, I need to be able to let you to get out of Pasco County once in a while. We like you here, but we'll let you go elsewhere as well. So this is our letter of support to participate in this corridor effort.
I appreciate that and that explaining that to us because yes, partnerships really will get us a lot further than fighting against each other. So that's wonderful. Any questions?
I have a question for Carl. As far as you know, Carl, is this agreement also going to be made with T-BARDA?
So they are focusing on the MPOs at this point in time.
Oh,
We can, we're doing our baby steps, if you will. We're in the very early stages of growing. And I can easily see as we then become more comfortable with this, that we will be expanding this to a larger realm. That would be a natural next step. But for these initial steps, we're keeping the group small, concentrated, particularly where the funding is, because TSM&O strategies are commonly applied to roadways, although there is an element that is transit. Such as having on your phone, knowing when the next bus is arriving or the next train is arriving in those areas. So yes, there is room for that in the future.
they're on the horizon. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to know. Thank you.
Is it a letter of support just to work together, or is there more meat to it?
Right now, at this point, is that we will participate and work together with them, but we're volunteering ourselves to participate in this group. And I will also share with each of you that I expect after a couple of years, when we get a better handle on what we think we can do as a larger corridor, that we'll probably have a more specific set of tasks in mind. And this letter of support is likely to be then revised with greater specifics. I mean, you can read this and know that it's very general in nature. It's because we're exploring our realms.
That's a great way to start.
And I do want to say also, I think it would mean a lot if we could also say thank you as part of a motion here to Metroplan Orlando. I'm very appreciative because Eric has been He's presented nationally on these topics. He is an expert in his field, and we're blessed to have him here in Florida.
Wonderful.
I want
Thank
him to
you.
know how thankful we are.
All right. Any other questions for Carl? Well, we do want to give our appreciation to Metroplan Orlando for offering these services to the Pasco County MPO on behalf of the CAC Board. So, action item, can I get an, if you approve?
Yes.
Aye.
Consensus wise. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next is C, Office Inspector General. Who's doing that one? Carl's. Okay.
So I'm not sure how familiar anyone is or is not with this, but Pasco County MPO, about a year ago, perhaps a little bit over that, 18 months ago, had a visit from the Florida DOT Office of Inspector General. Their visit was prompted by the fact that sometimes our billings were rather late. There were inaccuracies in them. And once an auditor starts looking, they keep looking.
Yes.
And they keep looking until they fail to find things, which means they're doing their job. So as a result, they came out with a number of recommendations which are in the report. I took from their report the items they asked us to take action on as an MPO, dropped that into a letter, and then using the red ink, as you see, here's what we commit to doing. Now, some of it was we volunteered activities. Some of it was their demanding of activities.
Ania, can you move the screen, please? Or is that you? I can't do it. Can I?
Per hour. What hours, how many hours is it? So that we have clear documentation. The purpose being that if we were ever audited in the future, we need to be bulletproof. And as a person who fears the IRS and auditors in general, I'm very happy to comply with these requests or demands, whichever you want to call them. The other thing is, I want to say thank you to Lori on our team, who she's not here at the moment, but she is our bookkeeper. And the last 3 quarterly billings, we are required to submit them within 90 days of the end of the billing period. Not only has she submitted those, they have been 100% accurate. We have been reimbursed inside the 90 days, not submitted and reimbursed inside the 90 days. She's proven to be a real rock star with this. The rest of the team has been working hand in hand with Lori to make this happen. This was well underway before I arrived. They are on top of this. I'm really proud of the team for this. They deserve a really big thank you for this effort. The other thing that's in there you'll see is that the report said that the county shall then train the MPO staff on the Munis, which is the accounting system in case that's not clear. And so I'm partnering with the county to make sure that we comply with the audit. So I hope that gives you a good overview. I see a question.
Is Lori with the MPO or is she, okay.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, she is she's dedicated, solely 100% MPO.
This is very important because, staff people need to do their work, whereas someone else needs to help them do this documentation and make sure it's in.
Well, and she's been handling all sides of it, making sure everything is documented. She's coordinated carefully with Florida DOT District 7, and they've been phenomenal in helping us work our way through these steps. We could not have done this without the support of DOT.
So when I was looking through it, now is Lori, it looked like you were hiring a new bookkeeper. Is that Lori or?
She is our bookkeeper.
Okay,
I
okay.
think technically her title is accountant too.
Okay, okay.
But she's been with the MPO prior to my arrival.
Okay.
Helped me out about a year and a half.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I think I remember Lori. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, very good. I'm sure that was a lot of crazy work. And you guys have been in a transition for a while, so we understand that for sure. But I read through what you wrote them and I was impressed with you hit every bullet and that's a great thing. So
Fear of
thank you.
auditors.
Yeah, yeah, we have to do that. Can't skirt it. A lot of times people will pretend it's not there, but it's there. So, very good. This one, we are going to, well, is there any other comment or question for Carl first? So we're going to, we're going to agree, consensus?
Can I ask you
Consensus.
to recommend to the governing
Recommend
board
the
that
actional plan.
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm
Bureaucracy.
not sure what the right wording. I'm really fumbling on that.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a full,
Okay.
Full house.
yeah.
This is why we need alternates from the other cities to be here as
Yeah.
well.
Craig Bacon. Is he on here?
That's
Oh,
him.
I'm sorry, Craig. He keep popping up and I'm like, well, maybe he's a member.
He keeps all the IT running
Yeah,
smoothly.
gotcha.
He's
He's
the
the
guy we
IT.
need. I always need one of those guys. All right, so now we're at D, which is the 2022 meeting schedule. And I'll let you take that one away.
All right, so we have before you what would be a traditional meeting schedule and then the proposed meeting schedule. Because of Tropical Storm Elsa, your meeting this today should have occurred last week. So the TAC has seen this, and one of the comments they brought up on Monday was that they felt that from the CAC meeting to the governing board meeting, there's approximately a 1-month time frame. And they felt that was too much time, and they would like to see that condensed.
Okay.
From a staff perspective, we set up this schedule so that changes proposed to items by the CAC as well as the TAC, there would be a 2-week gap between your meeting, the last meeting, and the governing board to make changes to the agenda package. There are ways that we could condense that by having perhaps CAC and TAC in the same week or things of that nature. But I do want to at least lock down perhaps the governing board meetings at the August 12th meeting of the MPO, the governing board of the MPO, so that we don't push this into October, particularly with elected officials locking down their calendars early is a good thing. But from that, we could potentially in the next round of meetings work backwards off of those dates as to when then you as a body would like to see materials and review them and vet them, ultimately to go to the governing board.
Well, I do think that we had that at one time when we were meeting monthly as a CAC, and we were meeting approximately 10 days in advance, and then the chair would make a report at the regular MPO about, like I say, 10 days later. So that was then. So I'm looking at the proposed, and once again, what I'm seeing is every other month. I feel like that's just too much time.
To every other month is too much time between
off.
meetings.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, you know, what are we doing then otherwise? We're just,
This is proposed, the
there are
second
always things
page.
happening. And I
to a different
understood
page.
for COVID
Go
why
to
we
the
went
next page.
into
Is that a
the
different one?
Right
every other
there.
month.
Okay, got you.
But, and then I see the current 2022 was almost every month. And then I see the proposals back to the every other month. So you can explain.
I got it.
Certainly. Previously, what we found as an organization is that we got really good at preparing for meetings, and it wasn't allowing time to be doing the other things that an MPO traditionally does, quarter studies, so forth, that we were focusing on building meeting packets, holding meetings, and we were becoming more bureaucratic
Okay.
and less functional. So the purpose of going to every other month was that we would then in between be doing some planning work rather than planning meetings. But I agree, at the same time, it does make for lengthier agendas. We do have busier and slower times of year. I'm not a fan of the idea of holding a meeting just because it's on a calendar, but we have very little to discuss or bring forward to you. So then you find filler to put in front of a committee. I'd rather bring you meat rather than just fluff.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
So that's what we were attempting to do with this proposed schedule, is that we want to be respectful of your time and not overwhelm you with meetings as well as ourselves. And when we have meetings, they may be a touch longer, but there's substance to the meeting.
And I appreciate that. And I know getting ready for meetings can take, just a board packet for my board takes a whole day, and I don't have this. Okay, so I understand that, you really need to do the work too. MPO, the MPO board, do you feel they're in compliance with the every other month and they feel comfortable? How do you foresee that coming through?
I've not heard objections.
Okay.
I'm anticipating that they will look favorably upon this, particularly when you look at they are meeting twice a month for BOCC meetings, as well as other meetings that are sprinkled throughout there. So I think they'll look favorably upon the idea of doing the every other month. And of course, we always have the capability of calling an emergency meeting, say that federal legislation comes about that has a special discretionary grant program that requires fast turnaround. If it's in the pursuit of money, I'll call you together and I won't be shy about it. I like money when it comes this way.
And I do appreciate that we can call extra meetings if there's something needed. So that's great. So what I see with this, if the MPO approves this, it would be tomorrow, right? No, that's next month.
April
Okay.
12th, please. Or I'm sorry, August 12th.
12th. Then we would move to the third Monday of the month instead of a Wednesday. Okay. Same timing, it says.
Well, we're going to move our day.
It says at the bottom, third Monday of the month. That's
Oh,
what
we're
it
not going to
says.
be on Wednesdays.
No.
We have to change our bylaws too, if
Yep.
this were approved.
Right.
And you're moving our day, which has been in perpetuity for me for 20 years, because you need that time for the MPO board. So you're moving us to Monday. They're still going to be meeting on Thursday?
May I ask if it is the preference of this body to stay with Wednesdays as a look for a Wednesday rather than a Monday?
I think so.
So is the time the same? Because Monday mornings would be staff meeting time. Monday afternoons, I'm pretty always open on Mondays. It's usually a day schedule. But I don't want this to be about my schedule. But I would possibly not even be able to get an alternate on Monday mornings.
It's tough because we have so many meetings within the county. We also have planning commission meetings, board of county commission meetings. We also have to work with our FDOT liaison, who has to be in Pinellas and Pasco. So we literally had to plot this out on a calendar and then see what available dates were left. And the Mondays, the third and fourth Mondays of the month, were actually the available times that were left open of what we could do. This is not set in stone. We brought it to you as a proposal. If we were to move forward, we would bring it to you, back to you in our October, our September, we're off in September. We would bring it back to you in October, our October CAC, and then we would approve it in our October board. So this is food for thought for our committees. So we just wanted to get a feel for what you thought would be the change. Again, we could always leave it, or we can change it.
Is it because of the meeting space then? Because we used to not even meet in the courthouse
Right, and we are still working through some of the hybrid virtual meeting rules We are still working through addressing that. It has nothing really to do with that. We're doing the meeting schedule as is right now. We're working just on that. We haven't even, we can meet wherever we want. This is just making our schedule, and going and looking at it how we want it to be. As an MPO, we have autonomy over our schedule. So we can say we want to be every other month. We can say we want to go back to the original schedule, like you said, Marilyn, the way it has been, and the way it is said in the bylaws, that we meet on Wednesdays at 9:30 in the morning. And you are correct. We would have to change the bylaws to ensure this change.
Then with bylaws, do we need more than the regular quorum or just the quorum?
We would need quorum to change it. Yes, you are correct.
And
So-
it seems to me that we're having a problem even getting quorum, so.
Well, that was.
And maybe a
That would-
change of date will help that. Who knows? But is there I know that the TAC does on Mondays
Yes,
because
they
I
meet
sit
on
in.
Monday.
They do at 1:30. Does it have to be at 9:30?
You
Could
can-
it be?
you can also
Because I
change the
agree with
time.
Tom because
I hate-
mornings when you are in a business, and probably for you guys, Monday mornings are a little bit crazy.
And you're more than welcome. And again, you're more than welcome as the committee. You have an option to look at your time, to look at, I mean, Pinellas, I believe, does their CAC like at 7:00 at night. I mean, they have this very interesting schedule that they've just rolled with throughout the years, and it works for them. So you're not stuck to the schedule. This is your, time to kind of go, you know what, I think we want to do it at 3 in the afternoon. It's definitely your time to really kind of look at it and go, you know what, this is what's going to work for us, and kind of get a consensus. And that's why we brought it before you today.
That's great.
Well, I guess I was under the impression that when the TAC met on Monday, that information from that could be then given to the CAC by Wednesday. I don't know, maybe.
The TAC operates, and the TAC can do whatever they like as well. They're actually reviewing it themselves. They were in between. They decided that they're going to review it and come back in October when they meet to make their final decision. They wanted to actually get more of their members in a consensus to see what direction they wanted to go in. They did like the every other month schedule. They were in favor, but they wanted more of their members to be present to make a final decision. That's kind of where they left it. But they like they said, they already meet on Monday. So they weren't really in favor of they weren't really changing anything. They were just changing their actual, what Monday they met. Instead of the first Monday, they were going to be on, I believe, the fourth Monday. So it was a Monday nonetheless for their committee. It just so happens they were just, they decided, let's have more of our members present in October. So that's what they wanted, to kind of clean up their TAC list. They said, let's go through that, do a little wash, get everybody together, and then make the final decision in October.
So I'm okay with changing days. I just can't, Monday morning would not be acceptable for me, but Monday afternoon. I think I agree the content is more important than just having a meeting. I do appreciate these meetings being more content driven. I think this initiative is well needed in getting this CAC group committed to meeting. And so what I'm going to ask as a suggestion is that maybe an email goes out to the committee members, giving them a brief summary of why you're doing this and saying, here's our we have some proposals, and keep it, if you can keep it to 3. Right? Monday, I can already tell you Monday I can't do it, but Monday morning I can do Monday afternoon. Change the date, keep the date, and maybe throw in a couple of options. But the real issue is the people who have volunteered to do this have to be here, or at minimum get their alternate here. And if they're not going to commit, and I don't know how. I mean, we're saying it here publicly. We've had this conversation before. Jania, you are the kindest person I know, and you would never be very direct in your email. But I think it has to be. I think there's going to have to be, maybe it doesn't come from you personally, but it has to be this body.
For Melanie.
Yeah, this body has to has to have a quorum, otherwise we're wasting our time. If you can't set a calendar for two, I mean, it's either the committee member or the alternate, then please give that seat to someone else who will.
Thank you.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So something I'd like to propose and feedback from the body that is here today. Happy to have staff, myself, the team, keep attendance for the last 12 months and just have it in each packet and report it to you, as well as then put for the committees in the governing board as well.
Thank you. And Tom, echoing what I was going to say, my question, and this is a sunshine law question, I believe I can't send out an email to the group, but I can send an email to you
Yeah.
where you can then send it to the group. Is that true?
Two elements. So if I act as a conduit for you to communicate to other members, we're in deep trouble.
Okay,
If I send an email out, it will be in the blind carbon copy line, so you can't do a reply all and violate sunshine law.
good.
But we can send out an email with direction from a publicly noticed meeting.
Okay,
So direction given here can be emailed out. But to take your email and send it directly,
can't
we're going
do
to get
that.
ourselves in some
Okay,
trouble. And it'll
and
be
that's what I
you
thought.
and I both.
So if I send an email to both of you and just say, we need commitment from this board, can you help us with that? Then you can take that email and send it out. So,
Then, yeah, if you are providing direction to staff as chair, to staff, and then we are responsible for the content of the message.
okay. Yeah, because I realized that after I feel strongly we need this commitment, because if not, why are we doing this? None of us have time to waste our time, so,
And your time.
and yours,
Yeah,
I mean,
we have guests
seriously,
here
yeah.
and it's important that we're up to date. And this was a rescheduled meeting. This is, if anybody's online, this is not to be directed at anyone. I'm as guilty as anybody. But if we are going to go forward with this organization change, then I think we as a committee and our alternates need to make a commitment that I think in the bylaws you can miss only 2 meetings a year. I think, is that what
Well,
it
maybe
is?
we need to start enforcing our bylaws.
Yeah, and maybe I like your idea of we have a note that says in the 12 months, this is who's missed X, Y, or who's been X, Y, Z. Then we can identify and maybe find out. I know my alternate, in the 2.5 years, I have never even heard from that person. So I recognize that he wasn't coming prior, which was why I was put in. So that definitely, those things need to be addressed and changed. And yeah, it's difficult to do that, but all right. Well, I will pop an email to
Well,
you.
I have comments. Okay, number one, I started out obviously as an alternate, but for some reason, I understood that as an alternate, one attended every meeting, because how else do you learn? You attend. This is exactly what I told Rachel, that once you become an alternate, you'll sit there, you won't be able to vote, but you will learn. That's number one. Number two, it grieves me to see that we are meeting only in Newport Richey and Dade City. There was a time when Mabel made a big point all the time about the need to go from Newport Richey to the center, to Land Lakes, and then the other place. So the Dade City, Newport Richey, Land Lakes,
Wesley Chapel.
and Wesley Chapel. It was religion. Because why? Because this is supposed to be open to the public. It's supposed to be easy for the public to attend. So when you open it up, are there any public comments? There would actually be people who knew. So once again, I am going to suggest that we might rethink that, even if it might be difficult to set it up. If it is, then it's up to the staff to decide. But to just meet in Dade City and Newport Richey is not enough. And then finally, another thing is I have spoken about the need for a Port Richey representative until my face is blue. That representative also needs an alternative. I know I spoke to the mayor, Scott Tremblay, approximately a year ago. He suggested a fellow by the name of Tom Kinsella, who is on their city council. And this is probably the 5th time I'm mentioning it, not that I, but the thing is, we need Port Richey here. We need Port Richey. Number 2, where does Lee stand? Lee, I forget his last name.
Henley?
I mean, how is he doing? Is he going to be able to come back? I believe he's at large.
Lee said he was working on his way on coming back. He was feeling a bit better, but he still wasn't feeling well enough to return. So we need to have a discussion with the commissioner about if he would like to place
He
him.
needs an alternate then.
Right.
He needs an
So-
alternate to sit in, because, Lee brought a lot. I liked his history. He spent a lot of time in Pasco, but when a person can't be there, an alternate is absolutely essential.
And when we want a removal of a person from the CAC, the commissioner, the MPO board must remove them from the CAC upon 3 absences. So that would be the other, we would have to bring that formal agenda to the MPO board.
Okay.
Who's
Now
his
what-
alternate though, Tania?
He doesn't have an alternate. I did bring the request to his commissioner.
Because if he's not going to be here and he has an alternate, the alternate gets to vote. So I wouldn't even.
He does not have an alternate. I did bring the request to his commissioner the other day, but Lee said that he was going to return. I did not hear anything back
Okay.
from the commissioner's office.
But-
So at this point, what I tried to do before we bring anything to the MPO board, I tried to preface the commissioners with the item first, so that they're not blindsided in an MPO board meeting. So that they can address it with their citizen prior to, and we can probably address the issue kind of, for anything moving forward, and have that discussion. I myself have discussed having a Port Richey representative with Mayor Tremblay in the past. Unfortunately, I believe he's got other duties and other things going on. But now that we have the executive director here, he could probably assist with some of that.
And I'm having lunch tomorrow with the city manager, so I'll bring it up then,
City manager, where?
of Port Richey.
Oh, excellent.
You get the best things done during over a meal.
That would be
That is
one last item too. Since we're having a challenge with quorum, and I don't want to add more to staff, but it might be a good idea. The night before, the day before, just a reminder, you need to be, if you're planning to attend this meeting, you need to be at blah, 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 at such and such a time. And that should go out to alternates too. Thank you.
Are you allowed to ask for an RSVP when you send this out? That way you are clear and you know who should be here, when we walk in the door.
So over the past couple weeks, the county ordinance has changed as it relates to the hybrid virtual resolution stance.
All right.
And the MPO has been trying to work with the county on what that resolution stance looks like. As
Okay.
you saw it previously, I did send out those emails over the last week. We have been working out what that looks like for the MPO moving forward. And so in that stance that we were in, we were trying to address what that was looking like. And so we didn't know as the MPO if we were allowed to send out those emails.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because we were working in accordance with the county and with the federal guidelines. So that left us at a kind of a stalemate, if you would
Yes,
say.
I understand.
So I am sorry for the inconvenience, but we just had a slight communication failure. And moving forward, we have a better direction now. So we know where we're going, but that's kind of what happened. So now we're going to move forward. But yes, normally you guys would see an email from me and I would say we have achieved quorum, we didn't achieve quorum, but now we're moving forward in that light. So
Perfect.
yes.
And I understand that we went to Newport Richey and Dade City because of the virtual aspect.
Right.
And I understand that we're still trying to figure that out. So maybe once we're back to 100% in person, then we can address going to the 4 different areas again.
Right. And
Is that correct?
Exactly. And my
So-
the goal is
Which is
that
fair,
we could go
which
to
is a
Land
fair-
O'Lakes because
Mhm.
Land O'Lakes is an option.
Yeah.
And now that once we adopt the county stance in our PPP, then we can go back to the advisory committees, kind of shuffling throughout the county as we did before. We were in Dade City, we were in Land O'Lakes,
Right.
we were in Newport Richey, we were in Port Richey, because it doesn't matter where we go, right?
Okay.
And it only really kind of as long as the MPO board is kind of stationary in the built in this
Absolutely.
building or in Newport Richey. So we are working on that.
Okay.
We serve 2 masters, as Carl said. So sometimes it gets a little dicey in between, but we do our best that we can do sometimes when we're caught in the middle.
Well, and I know that everyone's trying to figure out how to go back and,
Yes.
and undo what we've had to do for the last year and a half. So it is going to take a little bit of time. The last question I have is, so we will do this in October. We will talk about this. So hopefully with an email, you'll get feedback from the whole committee prior, and we'll kind of know where everybody stands. And you could give us a report on where they all are standing on the date wise and the time wise. And then if we say yes to our monthly meeting, are we then allowed to, once it's not virtual, to be able to change location? Or is it set in stone once this little thing is approved like that?
Once you say yes, in October, if you say, okay, we want to go with the proposed, then we go ahead and we bring the recommendation to the MPO board, then it is set in
Okay.
stone. Then we must change our bylaws as well.
Right.
So we would need your okay prior to, because then it has to go to the county attorney's office to change our bylaws. So
So
it's a little bit of a,
complicated.
It's
elbow
complicated.
grease
I
into
don't wanna
it.
change the
Not
time
much, but a little
because of
bit
that.
into
Be a
it.
quorum.
So yeah, which we
Yeah.
have enough time to get it done.
Well, and Sandy, say that? What did you say?
I just said that's why I just want to stick with whatever's in the bylaws, because it just seems to be a step that we have to take and make sure we have a quorum here, go through an attorney. I know we might have time, but we got to make sure we have a quorum here to vote on that too. So it might just be easier sticking with the status quo, and those that have signed up should have known that already. So
Yeah,
you
and
know what the date
to
is.
me, you have 6 meetings a year.
Right.
And if you, in my feelings, if you can't commit to those 6 meetings and then talk to your alternate, if you're not going to be at one, that should be pretty easy to do. That's just my personal opinion, but I live by a calendar. I know Tom lives by a calendar, and once it's on the calendar, it's there.
And we seem
so-
to have Tom here on a Wednesday morning,
Yeah.
so we're good. That's all we need.
Yeah, so let's just go forward with that. I will send you a note, an email, and then I do not have a list of actually who is assigned where, when. Can I get that?
Yeah.
That way, in my mind, I know that we have a full
House.
committee.
Want a CAC roster?
I
Yeah.
definitely would like to see
Absolutely.
that for sure, current, because I know that some of it had changed in the last little bit. And that way, if it does need to be addressed, I can just say, we need to address this. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I'd like to know, we put on new people, and I don't think we've seen
haven't
them
seen 'em.
since they came
Yeah.
on.
2 months ago, two times ago, I know I was at that MPO meeting, and the time before they were like, well, we want to know more about the people that we agreed to, and it was kind of complicated, but we've never seen them. They were put on, and
It's on once.
I haven't visually even seen them. So
I have followed up with the commissioners on those people because I do work behind the scenes. I have
yeah,
the
I'm
roster.
sure you are.
And I have followed up, and I did get a hold of 2 of them, and one was supposed to be returning to the last meeting, and they did not, and they were supposed to be at this meeting, and they did not. So I will follow up again. The other person, I believe, the other commissioner said remove them, but I have to bring that up at the MPO board meeting. If they want to physically do that. So yes, there are people that were appointed that have not shown up. So that is an issue.
It is an issue.
If it's
yeah.
appointments, then we have to have the MPO board remove them. If we do get a Port Richey appointment, we would have to bring it to we do have time to bring it to the August board, or we could bring it to the October board and then appoint. We would preferably want to bring it to you first as a, hey, this is who Port Richey chose, and then bring it to the October board. Or we could do vice versa, since it's an actual appointment by the commissioner, and then go that way.
How many at-large members do we have?
We have
forget.
4 at-large seats, and I think we only have 2 at-large members.
Okay. Was Christy coming on as an at-large member, trying to?
She has put in her application to come in as an at-large member.
Okay.
Right.
So that would be voted on by all the commissioners?
Yes, that has to, any member coming into any of our MPO advisory committees has to be voted on by the MPO board.
So what county commissioners have openings? I'm sorry.
No, that's right.
What county commissioners have openings still?
On the at-large,
No,
It-
not at large, at the,
Cities.
as themselves. Like Mike Moore, does he have anybody?
no,
represent
Mike
him.
Moore does not have a seat open, but if you are coming in through the districts, like if you're in the actual district that you're representing, that commissioner, that you go through their office, the application goes to their office.
Yeah, I know. So he doesn't have a seat. Who
He
represents
doesn't have
him?
a seat open for CAC, it's filled.
I know by whom. That's who.
Oh, I can pull that up for you.
I'm sorry.
Is that Clint?
Is that Clint?
No, it's
No,
not Clint.
he's
Clint's
he's
this
on the
side.
west side
Oh, okay.
or east side. He's on the east side because he
Oh,
always
and you
asks
just, I
about
thought you asked Mike
Everything
Moore.
is
No,
filled except for, that's Rob.
Rob Circa.
Rob.
And-
Yeah, okay.
And I believe Chris Poole is not
Chris
his-
Poole was the alternate, but
not
he's
the alternate because he's on the
Chris is
PC.
no
Right.
longer
so
on
you
the
need
board.
yeah because he dropped off because he's
Yeah,
on the
he had-
planning commission.
He's appointed to.
So
another
he does
board.
have, we do have an opening alternate for him.
Okay.
All right, that might be something we need to know is who has openings and then we get on.
And I don't think Councilman Smith removed Pete Odom
No.
as
he
your
didn't.
alternate. That's the other thing.
I will talk.
We would need the MPO board to remove the alternates.
So is it appropriate for me to talk to Lance and say that he would have to bring that, or do you do that?
The board, we do.
Okay,
We
yeah,
have to bring it
so
as an
that does,
item, and they
yeah.
have to vote.
yeah, so that needs to be addressed because I know Pete is, yeah.
And James Mallow was a full member, right?
Yes.
From Catherine Starkey?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
He has been appointed. He could not make it today. He had another commitment in the middle. He had 2 meetings at once.
Yeah.
Ours being one of them.
So I'd like to suggest, I think Sandy, you already asked for this, but could you put in spreadsheet format, commissioner, district, representative, alternate, if this were open, at large.
We have a roster that's just like that.
Do-
I have it up right now.
Oh, I'm sorry,
No,
I
It's
mean,
under
I
personal
have
commitment.
it up right
Oh,
here. We have a-
can you share that? So the reason why, and
Just send it to us.
yeah, just send it to us. And if it's on the website, just let me know. I'll go find it. I have people who are asking me to join that I will, I can't guarantee it, but I can almost guarantee they would be at every meeting. His name is Jim Engelman, but unfortunately he lives in an area that's already has the seat full.
He lives in mine.
Yeah. So my point is that.
Well, we do have an alternate seat though. But I'll tell you, I'm just saying this. If the county commissioner or there's somebody else that appoints them, it'll behoove us to take that person to the county commissioner, right? And let it go through that way, because there'll be times maybe that county commissioner might not.
Oh, no, I
like the
understand
person,
that.
But actually, Mike does know Jim, so that'll be a good one.
Right. There are a lot of people that would like to sit on this that don't know how to go through the process. And I know they can always call you, and that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that I engage them at different times, and they're like, "Oh, I would love to sit on that." And I know people who will be here. They would love to be here. They'll guarantee they'll be here. And if they're an alternate, they'll drive an hour to get here, but they just don't know how to get on this seat. And they're happy to go through the process, even if they have to wait. They're happy to do it.
Thank you.
Any other? I think we exhausted.
Take control of the
For,
meetings.
Maryland's alternate,
It's your
to see me after the meeting.
It's your meeting. You run.
And we're gonna have to, when we get done the status reports and updates, just to introduce yourself so we can kind of be in agreement and then get you to the board. As an alternate, we still have to route you through and get you.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Let's move on. We appreciate all that comment. That helps. All right, we are at status reports and presentations. We're going to do prioritization, methodology. Wow.
That's good.
I
that's a
couldn't get
mouthful.
that out.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and move location so I can see the screen as well as you can.
Right.
And so what I want to share with you is not with us today is Mr. Scott Ferry, who joined our team recently. And one of the initial tasks that he was charged with was doing a national review of project prioritization methodologies. We do not have a formalized process here in Pasco County. And to add strength to our planning process and to up our game, if you will, I see this as a need for Pasco County. So what you're going to see today is what is the status of the practice in other MPOs across the nation? So first, he did a review of what's going on out there because we want to see who's doing good things that basically I can plagiarize. Why reinvent the wheel? So within the review, what we first learned, or what Scott first learned, was that the most referenced item was the federal planning performance measures that have been recently implemented, and those are safety, congestion, time, reliability of a facility, so forth. So those were cited as an impetus for people who had either updated or started a prioritization methodology. Almost every one of them uses a mix of both qualitative and quantitative measures. So a quantitative measure would be number of crashes on a facility. Qualitative measure might be, we're going to measure how this impacts quality of life, which gets into more a squishy kind of judgment call. Common practices do involve assigning a score across different categories, and it can be, you can see up here, mobility, safety, and sustainability were very common ones. Let me move through my hand slides here. So some of the limiting factors are data accessibility. It's great if you want to talk about safety, but if you don't know, if not every crash is recorded, do you really have, the old saying, good data in, or, good data, good results, bad data, bad results. So data accessibility, usability, does the data come in a manner in which we can then break it down to use it in a quantifiable manner? And then technical expertise. So I'll tell you, on our team, Tina here can look at a crash report and in seconds break it down. She knows exactly where to go look. That technical expertise is awesome. And so she can go through crash reports a whole lot faster than I can. So it's that technical expertise element that is going to be important as we go forward with this. And there is no one size fits all. And I want to express the importance of this one. We have a long-range plan, which is our vision of what we want to be when we grow up, I like to say. But in 20 years, what are we going to be? What are we going to look like? Well, you adopt your prioritization scoring based on what your vision is and what you want to be in the future. So that's why there's not this one size fits all. And then there's really no single approach that is best. It has, again, to be customized to Pasco County, because what works maybe even in neighboring Pinellas County may not be appropriate for Pasco County. We're not Pinellas County. We're neighbors, but we're not identical. I will equate it to, if you have multiple children, they all have their own personalities. MPOs are the exact same way. There are 27 MPOs in Florida. There are 27 different personalities in Florida. We need to have something that fits our personality. So these are some very common project prioritization criteria. And as we go forward with this, safety is one you will find in almost every list. Because if we're designing projects that don't address safety, we really have to question what are our values. Project readiness, and this is important because if you have a project that's ready for construction and you prioritize a project that's an idea over it, you're going to be doing engineering endlessly but never building anything. And then what are we doing with the public tax dollars? We're kind of wasting them. We need to take projects from idea through to construction. And they have to have several stops along the way where you might say, no, this is a bad idea, we stop here. But if you've gone so far as to do the engineering, the right of way, and then you don't construct, I have to question how we're operating as a group, because I think then we're broken. Many of these other ones, you'll see travel time, congestion reduction, reliability. I think we're all here to combat congestion. So these are a number of them. And then these are constraints or issues that we could face. So we do have federal policy and regulations. We have state ones as well. There are things we can and cannot do with the dollars available to us. I don't want to suggest that our number one priority is something that we can't fund because federal law says, no, you can't do that. So we have to be cognizant of the limitations of our fund sources and what we're capable of doing. Again, data availability, data cost. Yeah, the data is available, but you have to go get it, and it's going to cost you $5 million per year to collect data. Well, could I use that $5 million for a higher and better purpose and just not use that data, find other data in my decision making? Because you don't want to spend all your money on planning and have nothing left for construction. And then again, staff expertise and staff availability, the cost of that. You don't want to design something so difficult and cumbersome that we spend the whole year prioritizing projects and we're not able to do other things. So here are our next steps. What we're proposing to do, and this is to give you an idea of where this ends up going, we want to eventually design a proposed methodology that we bring back to you. We'd like to run the current list of project priorities through it so you can see how it acts or behaves, what personality that criteria has. And then we'd like to begin implementing it. Now it'll be presented to each of the committees, yourselves, TAC, BPAC, the board. The one thing I want to share with you that's not on the slide is that from the research, what Scott found is this is traditionally a 3-year process. So it's not something that is easy. We're trying to do this in 1 year. So, that old adage, keep it simple, and then there's usually another S on the end. I won't use that. Let's start simple. Let's go ahead, see how it behaves, and we can add complexities to it as we go along. Because I am certain as we do this, we'll say, that first attempt was nice, but. So I'm looking at this thinking we really need to focus on safety, congestion, perhaps access to transit, those sorts of things. We can go into some of the more qualitative measures at a later point. Let's stick with very quantifiable measures initially. And I do expect this to grow and evolve, perhaps even over a 5-year period. That's okay. We may want to tweak it as we go along, but let's start with something that's straightforward and that's measurable. One thing that's important to me is that we demonstrate through a quantitative method what is the highest and best purpose of the dollars we have available, because we do not have unlimited funds to build everything we want. We have to be careful about how we use the taxpayer dollars. With that, I'll open it up to questions, please.
I have a question. All right. Okay. First of all, some of the data collected by Scott, you made reference to safety. Does that mean that data will ultimately also inform Vision Zero, another item we're working on?
So yes, by incorporating safety into this methodology of ranking projects, that helps work towards our goal of Vision Zero. Because, and I will tell you that what I have seen in my previous professional roles is that safety is usually the dominant factor in these types of methodologies. So it may be worth 30 or 40% of the points available in a scoring process. And then the other factors consume the remaining 60 or 70% of the points available. So yes, it helps to drive towards the Vision Zero goal.
Yeah, because quite often I bring up Vision Zero almost every meeting. And the reason is because I've been around long enough that if you don't remind staff, consultants, and whomever that there is something that was agreed upon at another time, then it sometimes seems to disappear. But this is good. Thank you. Also, you made reference to the LTRP or the Long Range Transportation Plan. All right, believe it or not, I was around when we were doing 2025, which is only 4 years from now. And I remember we distinctly put in BRT or bus rapid transit and passenger train down the middle of SR 54. Now, my thinking is, I wonder if it would be interesting for Scott to take 2025 and then kind of like see how that did. Because I'm not seeing any passenger trains and I'm not seeing any much BRT, although Kurt's done a great job with the buses. But anyway, that's just the thought I had. If there was something that was current, so supposedly, and we were working on that 2025 back in the late 90s and 2000s, early 2000s. I'm just throwing that out as a possibility.
So are you asking for them to look at what was supposed to happen by
Yeah,
2025 and what?
Maybe
and-
doing it a little backwards would show, because why have a document nearly, well, it's 20 years or so later, 24 years later, something like that, and it's just not really happening. Maybe you do something like that and it might be informative. It's just a thought.
Great. Other comments?
Was there a passenger train down the middle of 54 elevated?
It wasn't elevated, believe it or
Well, I
not. They were
think
going
we,
to make it
we voted
straight
on
up
that.
through. And that was before, Sandy, that was before a lot of other stuff was done.
Correct.
You can
Well, you gotta
imagine.
have money and you gotta have people to do it. I'm just saying a dream is worth.
Well, thank you. I think you're right on track. You've got to find a way to get this method in place. And as I've listened at MPO, it might help the MPO to not just focus on their area, what they want, their priorities. It might help to be able to answer some of those questions when they ask what happened to my project.
Yeah,
You know, because if you do have a reason why you did this and you stick to it, that would help. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this comes together.
Actually, I like the elevated train better than I like the elevated road. Just saying.
And Tina, I know you'll be a huge part of this, and so thank you guys. Good work.
Thank you.
All right, and then our next is the TSM&O status update.
That would be me.
Okay.
So as you know, we have a letter of support with Metropolitan Orlando and the surrounding MPOs. We've had a task force, so to speak, with the surrounding MPOs. We meet almost bi-monthly and then individually with the liaisons, each liaison meeting almost bi-monthly with Eric Hill to discuss what each MPO is doing to work towards their TISMO goal. And I think it's a very awesome concept to actually have some kind of it's almost like a mini training to discuss TISMO. Eric Hill has a very extensive background in TISMO training. He's very submerged into the concept. So you actually get some one-on-one kind of picking his brain. He goes to the national conferences. So you actually have a discussion with him about TSM&O. And so to feed into the list of priority project discussion that Carl just presented, we actually had discussions about putting this into the prioritization of our projects. So if a project came up and it had TSM&O in there and, it was to be placed on our priority list, that could be something that could be, ranking above because it has crash safety, crash management. It has all those components in there. So it could be a part of our actual prioritization projects. We would like to create a creation of a TISMO committee or a TISMO plan that could be a part of our actual CMP, a congestion management process here in Pasco County. We ensure that we include it in the upcoming, I know it's already time to start our LRTP process again. Again, putting it in our CMP, our TIP, putting that language in there, being specific about it, targeting these kinds of concepts so that we can make congestion management better in Pasco. I think we brought this up earlier, but we did go for a autonomous vehicle grant through FDOT and we did receive it for $500,000. It was in our TIP. So to lay those cables, start getting that going. So we are in that kind of, it's coming whether we like it or not, right? Like we are in that transition period in time where where we're going to move to in our cars, we have it, the newer cars, right? Like you can drive and it can, if you're in cruise control, it kind of tells you, hey, you're going too close, or you hear the beeps, or, all these new bells and whistles are designed to make driving safer. And so this is a part of that whole movement to have safety, to prevent us from having all of these issues on the road. So like I said, we're kind of going through this kind of transition in time where we're moving away from, good old fashioned kind of turn your engine on with the gas. And we have all these wonderful chips in our car to tell us, hey, you're too close, or hey, you're going too fast, or, so.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I hope we're also looking at getting more cars off the road through public transportation of some sort.
Yeah, and that is, and also too, that cabling can also lead to autonomous vehicles, right? So if you say, okay, that's definitely more futuristic. It could be tomorrow, I don't know, but that could be something you can think about. Why, like that cabling?
It's just another car, though,
right? But it could be autonomous bus. I don't know. Those are studies the MPO can do. With broadband cabling underneath, we don't know, and that's why rethinking transportation and the MPO and what we do and how we think about it. I was just talking about this with Carl yesterday. This is part of this process. So I think this is a great thing that the MPO is kind of embarking on. And I think when we do create a TISMO like committee, having citizens, having the technical expertise, having all sorts of trains of thought on the committee would be great. But we wanted to start broaching the concept to our CAC, to our TAC, start bringing up the discussions because it is a great concept. And I think the discussions, we brought it up, I think in 2019, 2018, it was very brand new. I actually, when I came in my first couple months here, I met Eric Hill from Metropolitan. And so it's like I've kind of grown with the actual project, even in my professional development. And so now it's kind of here. So it's really actually awesome to see it grow. So we are in that point in time where we need, I think, as a county, and I think regionally, we're stepping into a new paradigm and shift of transportation. So we're here, and I think just Pasco wants to put it on the map and just give you guys updates from time to time. And next year, hopefully, we'll have a TISMO committee and keep our fingers crossed, and we'll keep moving.
So will your committee be people from all of these other organizations, all the other MPOs? Will that be your committee?
I think as we bring it to and redefine, I think we'll draft a formal proposal of some kind. I don't think it'll be a formal. I think we'll write something out and do an actual formal presentation.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to give you
Very
very
good.
basic concepts and update right now. And then as we define what we are thinking about, this is actually what we would like. We'll do a formal presentation and say this is. Of course, it'll be open to the public like any other advisory committee, but. Yes,
Well,
this is
very
the direction
nice.
we're going in.
Well, you're thinking ahead, which is what we need, for sure, and collaborating with other people. That's huge. So we can't know everything
I have a
ourselves.
question. All right, now, we are talking about the TMA. Is that right? Is this what
This
we're
is
talking about?
the TISMO, Transportation Systems Management Operation. Update.
Yeah, this is what I had in there. No,
That's the next item.
is this the next item?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
All right.
Then, I'm sorry, but I've got a complete agenda, so why do not?
This
there-
is just her report.
Oh,
she
I
didn't
see.
have
Just-
any
Yeah, this is just
written.
an update.
Yeah,
Yes.
she was just
And that
updating.
was, okay.
That
very
was
good.
number B.
All right, just
Yep.
want to make sure I got all my bits and pieces
You
here.
got it.
Yes,
You're
and
right.
also just to wrap it up, we are talking about doing plans and programs on broadband capability. And, how does that play in? Well, you need some kind of Wi-Fi to operate, these cable lines and such. So I think we're going down a very interesting path. So I just wanted to give you guys a few updates. Thank you.
Super. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, we'll go to C, our Federal Highway Administration, is that TMA review? Certificates.
And I'm going to come back here so that I can also see the slides with you. So a couple opening remarks about this. The TMA is the Transportation Management Area, federally defined as any area over 200,000 population. We are part of the larger Tampa Bay area. So we have the Hillsborough County MPO, Forward Pinellas or Pinellas County MPO, and the Pasco County MPO that make up the TMA. So the report in your packet is broken into 3 chapters: Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas. We're focused on the portion that belongs to us, of course. We do not influence or tell Pinellas or Hillsborough what to do. The second thing is, you may ask, why did the federal government choose to come and visit us? Well, because Congress says so. Every 4 years, we get a visit from our federal government to say, how are you doing in implementing the MPO process? So that's what we're going to share with you. So first of all, they did a site visit, and these are the team members from Federal Highway who didn't actually come on site because we have this lovely thing called COVID, so they virtually visited us. In summary of the report, we have 3 noteworthy practices, which are essentially, here's what you're doing really well, and if someone is struggling in this topic area, we'll send them to you on how they can improve. 2 corrective actions, which are basically, you better do it or else. And then 3 recommendations, which are, we strongly suggest you look at this because next time they might be a corrective action. The report was signed June 30th, and again, they are on a clock or a deadline for that 4-year time frame. So I'll run through these noteworthy practices. So for outreach and public participation, they noted the active transportation plan, the long-range transportation plan, and the Bob the Builder Award that was awarded to Pasco County, and then also the NATO, or National Association of Development Organizations, the 2020 Excellence in Regional Transportation. It's kind of hard when you get a national award to not call it a noteworthy practice, right? Here are our corrective actions. The agreement, which you saw earlier, that interlocal agreement, not only was that in our audit from the Florida DOT Office of Inspector General, but then the federal government also said, you know what, we're going to make sure you do it. We're going to put it in our report. They have the ability to withhold our funding. It's a pretty big hammer. And then they called it a Unified Planning Work Program, or a UPWP. It's really quite misleading. It was essentially do what the OIG report said or else. So I don't like the title, but this is how it's been done. It's really comply with the OIG report. which we showed you that earlier, also our actionable plan. Their recommendations, they've mentioned our organizational structure, turnover, size of staff. At the time of their review, we had a staff of 3 and a roster of 7. So yes, they're correct. We need to build up. Security, do a standalone continuity of operations plan. Fortunately, because of COVID, we've all been practicing working remotely. Typically, if a hurricane comes and you have to clear out, you can continue to do the work of the MPO from 50 miles away or 500 miles away because of technology. And we've done a really good job of practicing that during COVID. So this is something I see very low-hanging fruit, easy to accomplish. And then updating our public participation plan regulatory requirements, which I feel very comfortable with this one as well. And that is the presentation on this. Again, it's something that happens every 4 years. One other comment, as an individual who used to work for Federal Highways and go out and terrorize the lovely MPOs of Florida with these reports and findings, I can share with you that a MPO certification review without a corrective action is as common as alligators in Minnesota. You're going to get one because they're going to show you they're doing their job. We got 2. And I will say they were very fair. I disagree with 0 in that report. When they asked for my comments, the only change I suggested was the due dates of the corrective actions. They had one due before our August 12th board meeting. And I couldn't get a new interlocal agreement without going to my board. So that was the only changes I asked. The report I feel is completely fair.
Yep, I agree. I think your staffing issue is no one's fault. It was retirement, as I believe it was. So you had a series of years, one after the other. So you got to rebuild that team.
Yeah, and I'm very pleased. Scott Ferry came on board recently, and we've been interviewing for an entry-level planner position. Had some excellent candidates.
Oh, great.
So we're hoping that we'll be able to make an offer shortly.
So right now you're staff of 4 then, and then you're helping?
We're at 5 at the moment.
Okay,
Hopefully 6 soon, and then 7 maybe by the end of the year.
perfect.
And is that going back? I know you have to size according to the growth of the county, but is that equivalent to what the previous staff was? I can't remember.
I think previous staff was 6.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so you're in line with the growth of the county and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah, and also being cognizant of the fact that we have a certain amount of federal funds that must fund our operations, and I don't want to then go over that number and then request the county supplement us. I want to stay within that budget. And one thing you'll learn about me is that I'm pretty fiscally conservative.
Well, it's good to hear.
That's good.
Stick to my ears.
Okay, so as I went through the packet regarding Pasco, I did see that a concerted effort was made to get the word out to the population, right?
Mhm.
Do we thank Casey for that? Probably? No? I'm just so used to you being the one.
Part of the
Anyway,
team.
this, very good. I read the memos. Let me just make a reference to the section now, of which there was a summary of the public feedback, 2 comments. One was, I'm sorry that there wasn't more. It was only a few pages of individuals. I mean, just a handful of people. But I would like the staff to particularly note Rob Park. He had the best comments. His were very, there were at least 6 or 7, and I highlighted them. And I felt that Rob Park, whoever he is, but certainly a citizen of Pasco County, was very cogent and right on. And I can't help but feel that for these, to ask for public for comment, we want to know what they had to say, right?
Hmm.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to add.
Thank you.
Another? Well, I wanted to commend your team on the 3 great things that you were noteworthy on. Very good. It's, that does, you got to say the good things, not just the bad. So very good.
And I want to comment, this report was prior to my arrival here. So that's really
I agree.
Tania and the gang
I
and
knew
Tina
that.
here
Yeah,
that
we
pulled
know
this together.
We know they've been working hard and holding up the ship, and they've done a great job, and we wanted you to know that. We appreciate that.
And if I may take a small liberty, I think this may be the last time I'm talking before the group here today. And I've done a lot of talking today, but it's Tania who organizes all of the materials for you, did a phenomenal job with that. And I want to be recognized that the brains of this operation are over here, not here.
That happens sometimes, so thank
Alrighty.
you.
Thank
We
you
appre-
both.
And we do recognize that. You know, that's your job, but some people
Do it
take their
better than
job
others.
seriously and some people don't. We know that. So, all right, we're on to D, the MPO future studies. Am I right?
I think we're on C.
That was
Aren't we on
C.
C?
That was what he just did was C.
There it is.
Oh,
Was it?
I forgot, I do have an item before you
Okay.
one last time. So as we are looking at our future for Pasco County, part of the role of the MPO is to do some planning studies. These are, again, a planning level study. The idea is to figure out the feasibility of potential projects and what are some of the potential pitfalls that may be out there. Is there environmental land? Would there be right-of-way issues where you'd have to take homes, that sort of thing? What other things are out there in terms of the features that may inflate the cost of a project? It's to better scope out what does a project require in order to go from a potential idea to something that we can actually put our feet on. And so we have 4 projects here that we're looking at. The idea is, again, we don't want to propose doing preliminary engineering if we know that the project has too many problems and would be astronomical in its cost. So what you have before you is the US 19 redevelopment study that would encompass a regional rapid transit study, a safety study, which, by the way, I want to say thank you to Florida DOT, who's generously offered to do the safety study of this corridor. I really appreciate that because safety is near and dear to my heart. But then we also want to look at traffic and how we can do anything that might be considered economic development, redevelopment to assist that corridor. The Adair Traffic Road Impact Study, there's a large development going in there. Zephyr Hills Multi-Use Path, and then the Pasco County Freight Plan, recognizing that freight is essential to our well-being, our quality of life, but also specifically, while we'll look at the entire county, one area we'd like to focus upon is there's a rail corridor that goes through here, and there are parcels that have been identified for industrial use near that rail corridor. This seems like such an opportunity to not pursue this and figure out how could we potentially maybe create an opportunity for manufacturing that can go straight from rail. Raw goods come in and finished products go straight out to rail. That may be entirely attractive to someone willing to invest in our county, increase our property tax base. How do we turn this into an opportunity for Pasco County? So these are the 4 we're proposing to bring before the board. We'd like to have your support for that, please.
Just so you are aware, and it's something that about the rail and the industrial development, that's something that has been and will be a Pasco EDC priority. And you may not know, we have a Ready States program that has 2 sites on rail. We've talked extensively with CSX on how to get rail spurs to activate those sites for industrial development. Those are things that I deal with literally every day. So definitely that is always a priority because the sites, once they're gone, we have no more access to the rail. We only have what we have. And CSX doesn't necessarily want to build more rail. They don't have to do anything, actually, but we do have a great partner in their economic development office. So in that regards, I'm already doing that. I'm happy to get more involved in that.
That'd be great. Thank you. We'd love to have you involved.
That's his job. He's very good at it too. So,
follow up on what Tom was saying. I remember attending a meeting several years ago that Jack Mariano put together with Taranchik. You remember Taranchik? And I don't know if he's still doing these things, but they were talking about the CRX. Is it? That's the train area. That's the rail.
CSX,
Yeah.
the 41
41,
corridor
41,
rail.
that rail goes right across, right? I'm only mentioning that because if there's any kind of background there that might be dug up to be helpful to you, or just talk to Jack.
Yeah,
The
not-
thing is, though, Pasco can't be the driver to that. That has to come from Hillsborough.
Well, actually, very briefly, because this is a rabbit hole that we don't want to go down right now. That is, it would be more than just Hillsborough. It would be a regional approach.
Right. Mhm.
Because it goes all the way to Citrus, all the way down into the port. It also touches Clearwater. It's an old rail. It's still a local line, is what it's called. It's still active rail for mining operations to the north and off of 41 in Pasco, all the way Hernando and Citrus. And I don't believe the cost is achievable even as a regional approach. It would have to be torn up, rebuilt, because it is a rail designed for industry, not for safety of passenger traffic. I think that's where that study went. That's something you probably could look up and find some notes on that. I do remember that being done, and that was initiated by Commissioner Mariano.
But didn't, when Jack was talking about it, he used I think Charlotte, North Carolina, that they actually used the railroad for their
That's correct.
transportation
Well, you
trains.
would want to take over the easement was what they found. And so CSX would have to either do, I believe what ended up happening, and don't quote me on this, but I believe what happened, since it is an active rail for industry, CSX would have to go into some sort of relationship with the region, and CSX would have the priority of using that rail. So
Certain times.
passenger traffic, well, at any time they so chose. And so passenger rail would have to accommodate the industrial use of that rail, meaning going to those mines. And that was one of the problems of moving that study forward. But then it was CSX was like, and we won't rebuild it because it's safe for what they use it for, but the region would have to actually pay for making it a modern transit
Yeah,
rail.
which brings in T-BARTA, right? So T-BARTA would have a role to play in that?
I don't know. I didn't. It kind of unraveled
Well,
after
all right.
that point.
I'm just bringing these items up.
No, I know.
So
I'm-
that we don't have to keep rehashing, you know.
No, then that's all been studied, but there's opportunities for
And I
using
know
that
the
rail.
players, and sometimes when a
Yeah.
name is dropped, it might be helpful.
Absolutely.
You know, you just never
Absolutely.
know.
You know, there was a time when you actually could take a train from Hillsborough Lutz, to Tarpon Springs
Hmm.
and into Tampa.
All right.
So it's not like we didn't have transportation that way before, but I
All
just
right.
don't know if Pasco County drives it. It'd have to come from Hillsborough to Pasco County and then Pasco
yeah.
to Citrus.
I mean, yeah.
So when they're ready.
We've been working on it's District 7, right? I mean, yeah, we've been doing stuff with them for years. Okay, I would like to inform Carl that this redevelopment of the US 19 study. Now, you and I've already had this conversation, but you know, I'm just going to mention it. Richard Geerling, Growth Management, several years ago, he's no longer with the county, obviously, but they did a market study of the county, broke it up into 5 different areas. One of those areas being what they call the harbor or harbor side, which is US 19 and West Pasco. So that means that study, information, and follow-up from that market study countywide, as well as the specific zones, so to speak, are available to you for review. And I will also add that at one time, a wonderful organization, no longer in existence, was the West Pasco Chamber of Commerce. And they also worked closely with Gearling through their Public Affairs Committee. So now, of course, the chamber has decided that they're going to do a better job going from 19 to 41, which of course I don't agree with. But the fellow who might be of informative is Greg Armstrong, someone who was well known in the county. So I just wanted to share that.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you. Can I just had one question before we move on, and I should know this. The multi-use path that study, is that Island Road that you're looking at? Is that Chancey? It's, no, I should know this, but I don't know this. What's the Wire Road?
Yes, that was it.
Okay, Wire Road,
We
okay.
talked about a couple different ones.
Right, okay, all right, yeah, okay. Thank you. I know that question would come. All right, we're moving on. CMP task force issues, congestion management. I miss Tina.
Good morning, Tina Russo, Active Transportation Planner for Pasco MPO. Good morning. Clint Wynn brought us a situation shortly after the last meeting about Fair Winds Road near Colony Road, about a situation about it being basically unsafe. Being a county road, we went to VNCAP, our traffic ops person, and then also to Public Works to look at that road and see if anything can be done. So VNCAP is actually painting stop bars at that road, and then Public Works is going to do some striping on that road. But we just followed up on that situation that Clint brought to us and sent it to the county, who was the appropriate agency, to see if there's something that could be done. And I just want to let you guys know of that situation. And again, trying to follow up with the county, who is the implementing agency on some of those situations. Thanks. Any questions?
All right. We are at other business, meetings to be held, scheduled to know.
Do we not have a report from Kurt today?
No, Kurt is, he couldn't be here. I saw that email. He could not be
Oh,
here.
I didn't see that.
So, sorry, I did pass right by that, so I apologize.
Just wanted me to share that Eagle Lane is up and running and that it is, and it's having good results. And he is working on the cost, the COA for the county. It has been approved. So he is working on that as well, I believe.
And you said Eagle Lane?
Eagle Lane, ECOLANE, it's the app. If you remember a couple, like last year, he had to take the contract back out for bid because the app he currently had was not syncing with Google.
That's right.
So we could tell when the bus was coming.
Okay.
This is the current app that he went out to bid, and it's currently working. And he wanted to let you know that
Okay.
it is up and running.
That's great. All right.
Good morning again. I just wanted to let the committee know that we'll be offering 2 smart cycling classes in partnership with Bike Walk Tampa and FDOT. I have flyers for you guys. October 2nd, this is the League of American Bicyclists, their certified cycling courses. And we're offering the October 2nd, which is actually full, I believe, and then a December 4th class. I'll give you these flyers. And this is a prerequisite for an instructor's class that we're going to do in February. We are using the brand new Starkey Ranch Theater Library Cultural Center. It's going to be probably one of the first classes and first of many classes that probably we're going to hold at this new facility. But this is the only certified bike ed class there is in the United States. All right. Julie Bond is an instructor and I'm an instructor. So we'll be holding these classes. The first part of it you do online, and then the second part, which is live, we actually get out there, do some emergency skills, and we take you out in traffic. So just want to give everybody one of these flyers. Hand them out if you have people that want to join us, please do. Casey, you're doing the October class, I think.
So
We're going to go play guitar.
could I get that digitally too? And that way I can put it out on.
I said play with
Yeah, if you
bars.
could send it to all of us.
Committee most
Okay.
likely.
She
And
needs one.
Very grateful to USF, BlackRock,
Here.
Tampa.
Thank you.
Julie's the one that approached me that wanted to sponsor these courses in Pasco County.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll get it to our community web Facebook.
Commissioner taking one of the classes.
Are you going to do a craft beer bike tour?
It's
That'd
technically
be a safety-
operating under
That'd
the
be a
in-
safety
it's
course.
technically operating under the influence.
They do those over in Brevard, North Carolina.
So
They're-
there's two
craft
very
beer.
big components of where we choose where this class is. One is we need a very safe parking lot to do the skills that we do. We do emergency skills. We learn to do emergency stop. We learn to do emergency turn. We do some different skills that require a very safe parking lot to do that. But also we're required to bring you out on certain roads, doing certain turns, and being able to maneuver in traffic safely. So it takes a very specific location to do those things. And bringing people out that you don't know what their skills are, you want to make sure that's a safe location.
You should see me on my three-wheeler. Yeah, I probably
Bring-
need that.
Everyone- I've done recumbents, I've done everything, so.
Yeah,
Biking
that's
at
what
the
we
mall.
have is the recumbent. I'm trying to learn those things. And it's, if you feel uncomfortable because you're so low, that it is scary to go into traffic and the recumbent, more so than I thought with the upright bike.
Here,
and
you
again,
do my
teaching
SUV.
recumbents, I had to get on a recumbent to know what to teach as
Mhm.
well. And even emergency maneuvers specifically too.
Yeah. Maybe my husband and I can come. Casey.
Let me do a quick update here on that area too.
Some
And,
Vision Zero.
one of the things that Tina has called to my attention, of course, is part of Vision Zero.
Thank you.
And is, she's been working with the school board safety team, the Pasco Sheriff's traffic safety team, as well as the Pasco County traffic safety team. And this is a roundabout that is on main plan. That's an example of 3 roundabouts that are right by the new Starkey School that'll be opening this fall for the first time. It's a K through 8, and I believe they said 1,000 students will be opening. So it's the first time in Pasco County you're going to have students and parents navigating 3 different potential roundabouts to get to this school. And the drop-off time is for all students at one time, 8:30 in the morning, and then it ends at 2:50. So Tina's been working with the school board as well as the sheriff's office to use our Vision Zero platform as a way to assist in any way that we can. So we are all signing up to be volunteer crossing guards that first week of school. On August 9th, we get trained, and on August 10th, school opens. So they'll have us out there in addition. And then as part of the Vision Zero activities, this is an example of a sign, let's say the sheriff uses, that they provided for us. So through Vision Zero, we designed some signs from Tina's time of just being out and a part of these kind of processes. We've got some signs that we've been working on here that will go up in addition outside of the sheriff radius. So where they would normally be calming traffic, we're going to be assisting outside. These are just examples that they've been approved by the sheriff's office already. It went up through their captain of ones that we can use that we're going to produce and print. So they'll be ready this week. We have over 100 signs that we were able to budget for out of the Vision Zero for task work order from this earlier this year. And even this one will be 24 by 36, so it'll be very large, and it's going to get placed at the entrances to the school where you first come off of 54 and somewhere in there. So we're going to work with the sheriff's office as soon as the signs are ready to go out and map a plan of where we can add to their signage thing. And they're really excited. They said the crossing guards, getting people hired for crossing guards has just been about impossible with COVID. So they do a detailed plan that they have to talk about ahead of time, and we can. I think they've gotten 6 so far who have actually signed up for that school, and 1 traffic control officer. So Ron said they got another one from that area to sign up So we're gonna supplement that and be volunteer crossing guards as part of Division Zero. It'll be new. They're gonna have to deal with golf carts and who's gonna try to come to school in a golf cart, which they're not allowed to. Is what I'm hearing, so.
Remind me, what school was that?
Starkey
Starkey.
Ranch.
Oh, okay, that's the
Will
brand
be
new.
opening.
Yeah, okay.
And this one kind of hit the scene because of the roundabouts. All the schools need additional help, but I think the roundabout part is gonna be the newest,
Yeah, that's true.
thing for them to deal with.
And part of our Vision Zero and our active transportation plan, one of the main components was building these relationships with our community traffic safety team folks and the sheriff's office. And this is one of those avenues that we can do that and build those relationships. And it's going to be, a give and take from here on out. But this was a great opportunity for us to educate people and engage people, which is the number one purpose of our Vision Zero project. So.
I'm gonna have to end and do kudos for Tina as well. That when she's contacted them and said, "We're here to help you," they were kind of confused. What? And she said, "Whatever you need, we'll get staff there, we'll volunteer, we'll do signs for you." So the signs have all been approved by the sheriff's office and the captain, what they wanted. They changed the colors up a little bit, but they can't believe people are stepping up to help them with these issues. It's kind of neat to be welcomed and said, "Hey, we're there," so.
Right.
Is this a county road or is it a CDD?
They're still private for now until they get turned over.
But again, it's a traffic operations situation when you talk about the school zone. Very unique, and again, it's not unique for school systems, but the school itself, school grounds is school board. Anything outside school grounds basically is Pasco Sheriff's Office, but then traffic ops is the one responsible for signalization, signs, crosswalks, and all those things.
Oh, really?
And that's part of that school safety group
Yeah.
that I sit on. And then the Pasco Community Traffic Safety Team, some of those same players are there to kind of assist also as well. And being in Starkey Ranch, that CDC, again, the CDC takes care of the roads, the trees,
Yeah.
and so forth. So.
Oh, and Lake Blanche, I didn't mention the construction of it.
And then Lake Blanche is going to be going through, it was supposed to be done before the school opened, but the construction of Lake Blanche will be going on at the same time. Roundabouts are very different for most folks. And then
Yeah.
some of the things that we're going to do in the cycling class is learning how to navigate those roundabouts. All three roundabouts that Casey, we did drone shots off, all three roundabouts that will be close to the school are three totally different roundabouts. All designed differently.
And so I noticed
Very
here
differently.
you have, are these pedestrian crossing blinking lights on two of?
Yeah.
Okay, but
There's
not all
nothing-
four.
There's no RFBs at the school.
All right, but I mean, here, what I'm looking at, that's where it blinks, right? You walk, you press a button, the kids press a button, it blinks like this. But it's not on these over here, it's not on those.
Roundabout is on rangeland, on actual rangeland, and then you turn down to go to the school, and there's another roundabout right at the apex of the school
Yeah,
and Lake Blanche, and then there's the other roundabout coming in off of 54 to hit Logspur and Heart of Pine. So that's just an example of one that will be getting utilized for crossing there, but it's not even the one that's right next to the school.
so this is just a suggestion. We just went through this in Seven Oaks, and it was a long time coming. We finally got traffic calming devices and bumps, but it was always about the kids, safety of the children, because a lot of the kids in my community bike, just like the old days. They bike to school. But the roundabouts are some of the most nervous parts of that trek because nobody knows the what is it, the priority or the who goes first. Okay, I don't know the right term, but the only thing I would suggest, and this is just safety for kids, is I know you're doing the smart cycling, but for this particular roundabouts, maybe reach out to those kids and have a kid-centric bike safety on how to get to and from school. Because I know that they're always jutting out into the roads. Most of them stay on the sidewalks, but even in those crosswalks, nobody knows half the time when to stop.
Well, and that was in this first 2 weeks where the rules kind of changed. Kids going to school.
Yeah.
Those first 2 weeks, everybody's getting a feel for how they're going to get to and from school and timing it and everything else. And that's where we want to kind of have those volunteers out there to assist the sheriff's office in teaching the right way to go to school. And that's where these kind of come in. The sheriff's office has an established route that they would like the students to go. And then again, that's where we're kind of supplementing with volunteers to kind of educate and engage those students to kind of follow that route instead of darting across places that they shouldn't be darting across. And again, with roundabout, especially the one at Lake Blanche, they have one crossing guard that's going to try to navigate those students through that area, and that's nearly impossible. I mean,
Said the crossing guard will actually use cones to stop the traffic, gather the children, actually stop the traffic, then transport the kids, and then pick the cones back up. So everybody's going to have to get stopped, whether they like it or not, in the roundabout, as these parents come or leave the school. It's going to be an interesting week. And,
Going to be challenging.
the gentleman, Ron, with the sheriff's office said this is, school's kept him up at night for about a year trying to figure out how this is all going to work.
so
Well,
we're-
it would be nice, like, I think what you're saying, if maybe the sheriff's office would do a day of training prior to school and
They are the
make a
ninth.
fun
We're gonna
day
go
of it
out.
and have
Yeah.
hot dogs for the kids, and they would come if there was something fun for them, you know?
I suspect that will come later because the principal is working with the sheriff's office, but I think being a brand new opening, they've been a little reluctant to add an additional thing.
Sure.
going on. So
Of
I
course.
suspect this is gonna come as that school gets established this year.
Okay, good.
With the principal.
Perfect.
It's fabulous. I've never seen such a large parking lot, car line to get people off the roads and into the school.
to cue people
grounds.
away.
Yeah, they're all queued inside the school.
That's great, because a lot of schools don't
Well,
have that.
let's pray for the kids.
Yeah.
And for motorists.
Thank you. Is there anything else?
Oh, good.
Any
Thank you.
questions for these ladies? Thank you. All right, so we are at CAC Roundtable Future Agenda Topics. Does anyone have request?
For future topics, just with the current announcement or the recent announcement of DAB defaulting on the diverging diamond, that might be nice to have like a reoccurring update, just to, even if it's, even 5 minutes, but that's going to get really dicey. It's been in the news, obviously. It's known that there was a problem there, but that might have to come as an agenda item, just to, even if you dial in, maybe if you can't make it to the meeting, you can dial in, Zoom in, or WebEx in and just give an update, because I don't think people understand what it means when a company defaults with FDOT's plan for construction, and then how a bonding company has to go out and find a new contractor to finish it. They're just going to know it's not being done. So I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about that. If not, I'm sure Commissioner Moore has already heard about a lot of it. But anyways, it might be something that would be good to get that out front. And I know you're doing that, but that's my only suggestion.
I don't have a agenda forward item, but I do want to thank Tania and Jensen and who helped our Rotary get our permit to place red, white, and blue ribbons on our trees on 41, and also the county for mowing the median and trimming the trees, and now we look as good as Lutz in Hillsborough. So thank you.
I played
Thank you.
airport runway.
know, I
traffic
felt
control,
so.
and, like, go down the median and then go back and go up, and please make sure, otherwise I'm gonna get my head dropped.
Is that your job description too? Did they write that in? Oh, you
I
poor
put that
thing.
hat on sometimes. I don't think you want me with a weed whacker. I have no idea what.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's pretty scary to be working on 41 and trimming trees and mowing lawns.
Oh, that's
But
good to know.
thank you, Tania. Thank you for that, because
For
it did make
sharing
it look a
that.
lot better. And I do want to ask one more thing. Do y'all know anything about planting those wildflowers in the median? Can it be done in Florida, or is Florida just too hot?
I would have to get with our county, because I believe
Because,
we're
I
responsible
mean,
for
maybe
the,
you can't do it, but maybe we can get private organizations to do that. I mean, if
I
they're
think
just wild.
you can get the seeds for free. Just become Johnny Appleseed or Sally Appleseed. And you
All
just
right.
go out there and
Well, y'all look
sprinkle.
into the Appleseed business, and we'd be willing to put together that.
I think you can get those. There is a time in
plant
the-
'em.
No, well, there's a time you can get the seeds. I think it's it's not a transportation initiative. It's a Department of Natural Resources or something like that.
Okay.
Look into it. I remember
Well,
seeing
that's a
that.
future item.
Marilyn, do you have?
Do,
Uh-huh.
okay. Let's see. I don't know where to start. All right, I did read the tip. You know, we all got that tip, okay? And that came to an end at the end of June. And one of the things that I pick up on, if I'm reading it correctly, is a lot of road construction. And road construction leads to new development. And I'm wondering about how our county, the commissioners, are looking at all of this new road development and building. And I understand that tip is about a current plan that's been updated, but our country, our world is experiencing significant climate change experiences. Now, one of the things that come into play with that is the overdevelopment of green land. Now, I think of green swamp. Are we encroaching on green swamp? I mean, even if you start building right up to the edge of it, you're encroaching, okay? I also wonder, and I am concerned about ELAMP. That was money that was collected years ago through citizens voting to say, yes, go ahead, take a penny, split it up on this, and that, and the preservation of green land that's not developed. I think we need an update, because what I see a lot of buildings going up on a road that's overused, SR 54. And even though I was around when we were talking great plans of maybe a possible train or even a sky train at that time, we see a lot of development, a lot of congestion. Also, I do have a question. I would like to know from, maybe Tania could bring me up to date. How is the converging diamond coming along?
It's going to make a statement on the diverging diamonds into the FDOT project before we leave.
I'm sorry, I didn't really hear that.
He's gonna, Jensen is gonna
Jensen's
talk.
gonna
Jensen
give us
has,
an
it's going to
update
make a statement on that before we leave.
And that's
Okay,
why I didn't even
that's okay.
know if that was going to be there. All right, super. Well, I want to just cut this short, but you know what? It's just not about us sitting up here going through the specifics or me saying, oh, by the way, look at page 59. You need to correct this. It's about us having the big picture too. It's about us who are longtime citizens of Pasco County. And we need to also make sure our representatives on the MPO know what we're thinking, what we're doing. You know, this is our time and our dime, and I give it willingly. But we need to be aware of what's coming up in the future so that we address that as well. Thank you for the time.
Rachel, did you want to add anything, or?
I'm actually grateful for this opportunity as a mom that walks our streets with my dog and my children. This is very close to my heart, so I'm grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you. All right. Okay, and are we going to have Jensen speak before we adjourn? And I did have one question. You have on the next meeting date is October 6th. I have it September.
Yeah, I had September.
Because it's every other month, so this is July, August. I have it on September. Am I incorrect?
It's on the agenda, second page.
Yeah, yes, when we did the calendar last year, the
Uh-huh.
approved MPO that was brought for the MPO, it said September was going to be a non-meeting month, and then October,
Okay,
we would reconvene with the regular schedule,
will be-
meaning that we would go to the 3 meetings in 1 month to
okay,
catch up from not having the meeting in September, and then November would be a committee meeting month. And
okay,
then December would be board, and then we would close out to close out the year.
So
okay.
that means that this is what, July? So we miss August and September. And then we meet
August is a
again.
board month, September is a non-meeting month for committees and
Yeah.
board.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I
Well,
didn't, I had
noticed
that wrong.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna delete that one, and I added the other, and we've got it. Thank you for clarifying that.
And just a really quick update before Jensen speaks. I did reach out to Lee Henley. I'm waiting a response. And Larry Guilford said he did receive the information. There's a meeting was canceled last week, but I think he thought there was confusion with the meeting being canceled, just being canceled and not rescheduled.
I see.
So I don't think he followed up on the next email.
he
So
didn't
I think
catch
there
the
was
next
maybe a bit
email.
of confusion with just being canceled due to the hurricane. So that's probably why.
Yeah, but you did follow up saying that it was
Yeah.
a week later.
Yeah.
Oh, just, I think that may have.
Just
been a bit of
confusion. Okay.
Well, it would have been
With the
nice to have
quorum.
had them, you know,
Okay.
then we would have had a real meeting.
Thank you for following up on that.
No
I
problem.
appreciate it. All right, Jensen, thank you.
All right, morning, everyone. Jensen Hackett, Department of Transportation, for the record. First and foremost, it's actually great to see you guys. I remember when I sat down that I haven't actually seen you guys since March of 2020 in person. So I hope I haven't changed too much in that time frame. But for your question, Tom, I just wanted to address Sabre 56 because I had the same thought. I was like, I'd be more than happy to give you an update, but that's not going to be until October, and stuff could happen between now and then with the project. So going back to last year, when this kind of all came to a head with the Commissioner Mike Moore speaking on the project at Sabre 56 and I-75, we, as the DOT, gave DAB what is called a notice of intent to default. When a project begins, they have certain timelines that they have to meet as part of the project, and this was not being upheld by the contractors, and so that's why that letter came out in late 2020 for them. And so it came up with a whole bunch of stipulations that were new as part of the project in terms of the spring of 2020 and into the summer to help get them back on track. So that they could finish as quickly as possible. Obviously, the original date of completion was sometime in the spring to early summer of 2021. That date obviously has passed at this point. They were under a certain deadline to meet. I don't know exactly what it is, but they were under some deadlines to meet certain requirements by the end of June. As of the first Friday in July, DAB, the contractors, actually gave us a notice of intent to remove themselves from the project. And so at this point, essentially the project goes to what is known as the surety for the project, which Tom was discussing. There is kind of that whole bonding issue of then going out to a new contract. So the project is now under the surety for the contractors. So now they will go out and bid for a new contractor to come onto the project. That should happen as soon as they possibly can. So there shouldn't be too much of a lag of time from when the old contractor was off the project to a new contractor coming in and completing the job. At this point, the DOT, we've done everything that we can to go and make sure that the current status of all of that construction is well maintained. So we have gone out and done a review of a lot of the work that has been done to make sure that there's no runoff issues from some of the dirt and debris that are at that site. We've gone and made sure that the roadway is still in decent shape for travel and commuters to traverse across the entire intersection on the bridge, as well as 75 and the exit ramp. So we're doing everything that we can, but right now that's kind of where this is. I can bring an update back in October as well, just to kind of give you an update on if at that point I'm assuming there will be a new contractor on board, and we'll kind of give you an update there. But that's what I have now for that project. Just wanted to get that out there before we lapse until October, before you heard an update.
Appreciated. I know you have public relations and media. I mean, it's been announced multiple media sources. But I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of public upset public because they don't understand.
Mhm. Yep,
They don't
I agree.
understand. I noticed that it looked like the the temporary sidewalk was put back together with safety barriers. That's I don't know if anybody ever wants to take a chance to use that. But yeah, I was thinking just as a matter of safety, and maybe I'll drive by. I live over there. A lot of gravel was very close to the active lanes.
Yep.
And we all know you get gravel, either one, it kicks back into your windshield, but more importantly, you can't stop on gravel. And I was real surprised that, I mean, even a contractor went into default, I would think they'd put a guy out there with a broom and get that gravel, off of the road, because that's as bad as ice, as you know. So hopefully, FDOT can take care of those like safety issues.
Yeah, and that's kind of going back to our maintenance after that occurred. We actually sent our crews out there to make sure that, and I know that area you're talking about, there was a little bit of runoff if you're going westbound on 56, approaching the intersection where the new northbound 75 on-ramp is.
Right.
That comes across right there.
You got
And
it.
I live there in the area, so I drive it pretty much every day to work. So I'm working to make sure that we're keeping that intersection up to what it needs to be while we're in this kind of transition period to get to a new contractor to
I
complete the job.
appreciate that.
So,
Thanks for
Yep.
your hard work.
yeah, and so I understand all that, and we're doing the same thing with some of those big piles that are there up along I-75, because obviously that could lead to an issue as well. So we're constantly observing and making sure that everything, at least now, with nobody on the job, that there is something there to make sure that the maintenance of that facility is taken care of.
And a piece of advice is maybe put that out in the public domain, is that you're not abandoning it, because that's the message. It's abandoned. And I heard that this morning on the way to Zephyr Hills. It was on 99, or I don't know what channel it was on, 970 AM or whatever. But I was like, oh, I got to find out what's going on. Anyways, some of that information, and just knowing FDOT is got safety as number one, is what I think would be a concern to the public.
Vision zero.
PR, right?
Yep,
It's all
that's
about.
correct.
I had
Not
to-
the big dig in Boston.
It's close. It's getting there.
No, that won't be.
perception is
40
everything,
years
isn't
or
it?
whatever.
Ugh, crazy. Well, thank you. I think we're done, and we will see each other together on October the 6th at 9:30 in Newport Richey,
Hopefully with a quorum.
and we will make sure there's a quorum,
Yes.
and we're adjourned. Thank
We
you.
got to vote
Thanks,
on that
Melanie.
meeting time.